Okay, it's 6 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's June 16, 2021 revised order extending remote participation by all members in any meeting of a public body. This meeting, the Great Barrington Selectboard, is being conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Pursuant to MGL 7C 30A Section 20F, after notifying the chair of the public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body, may transmit the meeting through any medium. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings. This meeting is being recorded by CTSB, by our reporter, by Berkshire Edge, and other members of the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listing of the agenda items are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be brought up, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed being in fact discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. Start with Select Board's announcement statements. Garfield?
1 second, Stephen.
I'm sorry, Garfield, I didn't hear you.
I had asked for just a second.
Okay, sure.
One thing I wanted to mention was I had actually spoke with Chief Story about a month ago, and was just checking in to make sure everything was going well, make sure that he was staying on task, if you will, in the police department, which I believe is doing a great job. I admire the work they're doing. And he's told me that they're still going for their accreditation, one of the only towns in Western Mass that has it. Also, they've met with the Latino community, the Asian community. They're still employing the social worker to help with mentally ill and all things good along that line. So I wanted to pass that on to everyone.
Thank you, Garfield. Eric?
All set. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Ed?
Nothing.
Lee?
Nothing.
And nothing from me. Town Manager's report. Chris, the Housatonic Waterworks.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Mark asked me to give a brief report in his stead. He did say that town staff and select board members have held several working meetings during the month of September. And to date, we've met with representatives from the waterworks, from the Great Barrington Fire District Water Company, the state's Department of Public Utilities and Department of Environmental Protection, and our legislative reps, both Smitty Pignatelli and Senator Hines, as well as Jose Delgado representing the Baker administration. We will hold a standalone meeting on Tuesday, October 12th at 6 o'clock, so please save the date. That'll be a standalone meeting with village residents and Housatonic Waterworks customers. It will be via Zoom, so this same general platform. At that time, the Select Board will update residents on the next steps, and it'll be a listening session regarding the waterworks. So again, save the date, Tuesday, October 12th at 6 o'clock. We will issue a press release and get the information out on social media as well as Code Red as we get a little bit closer. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Chris. The Public Works update, Sean?
How's it going? So this is going to be a brief update. I gave my larger update last meeting, but as you guys can probably see, we got quite a few projects started around town. The Taconic Avenue wall continues to move along. We've started work on the front steps. The Bridge Street Bentley Ave project is moving along, and they pivoted some of their equipment and work to the Taconic parking lot, so just so everyone's aware. But I'm mostly here tonight to follow up on the bid for the Taconic school project, the tarping and the boarding up of windows. We were able to get a hold of the contractor that gave the initial estimate that I used when we went to town meeting for the approval of the funding. It looks like there'll be a small increase over the budget that he gave me last spring, but we think we'll be able to do the majority of the work within the allotted money. So still have to finalize the new proposal from that contractor and get a contract executed, but I think we'll be able to do the vast majority of the work hopefully this fall, this winter.
Thanks, Sean.
Sean?
Go ahead, Lee.
So last we heard it was $95,000. So you're saying they came down from the $95,000?
So we got an estimate from a contractor last year or last spring for the work. We went out and did a public bid after a scope of work was written up. That contractor that gave the initial estimate did not bid on the project.
Okay.
Other contractors did. So we've sought out a few more estimates from additional contractors using the scope of work we created. And I believe that we haven't finalized anything yet, but I believe we'll be able to get the number to come significantly down closer to what we had budgeted.
Does that require reopening the bidding?
So the formal bidding process we did, we didn't have to do exactly that way. With a written scope of work and bid documents, we could have actually solicited verbal bids from the contractors. It's under $50,000. We went ahead and did the formal process because it usually works to our advantage, and it's just easier in case there's any questions about the bidding, and you avoid a bid protest if you do it formally the way we did it. So at this point, we're able to solicit bids based upon verbal quotes from the contractor with the written scope of work and bid documents we have, not requiring a month's delay in bidding.
Thank you.
So let's say that we do close in on this. What's the timeline then for doing the work?
So again, as I mentioned, we're hoping late fall, early winter. I have to get the formal estimate given to me. I have to get approval from the engineer still because we want to make sure that it's as the specs. But a couple weeks to turn the contract around, and I think maybe late fall, early winter they'll be able to start.
Okay. I mean, as long as we get reassurance that they will do it in that allotted time, that it's not, next year during the winter.
Yeah. So doing our best. Hopefully they'll be able to fit us in and within budget.
Great. Good news.
Anyone else? Next, we have the downtown Wi-Fi project update. Ed?
Yeah, thank you. As you know, for the last few years, we've been working on getting high-speed internet fiber into the downtown. And the most beautiful part of that plan is that it's been done without any expense to the town by Fiber Connect. They've been pretty successful so far. They reached out to say they could provide a Wi-Fi network downtown, which would be free to use by anyone who's downtown, anyone who's visiting downtown, whether we live here or tourists or weekenders. We're going to work on getting some of the business leaders are involved in this. They're going to work on getting the businesses to pay for the equipment. And the first antenna, it'll take about 10 or 12 antennas in the downtown. So you'll be able to walk all the way, just walk through the downtown while, to the extent that it's safe to walk and text while looking at your phone, careful at the crosswalks. So it'll take 10 or 12 of these antennas. The first one should have been up. I was going to get to announce that it's up, but they hit some steel while trying to run the wires, and they're still working on that. But by the end of the week, it ought to be up. So if you stand, I believe, under the awning near GB Eats is where it's going to be. The antennas are about the size of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and look similar, and they are up above, just above the first floor on buildings. So that's exciting. That first one won't give us the whole network. It's just a start, and he'll build out from there. Thanks.
Any questions? Seeing none, thanks, Ed. Appreciate it. New business, maximum useful life certification. Sue, is this you're going to explain this?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. What this is, some of you are familiar with it. Those of you who are new have probably never seen this. Typically, when we're getting ready to borrow for any new capital items that were approved at the most recent town meeting, capital equipment and capital vehicles. We're required before we can borrow against these projects to do what's called a maximum useful life certification. So it's just basically stating what we believe the life of these pieces of equipment are.
Do I have a motion?
I move that the following maximum useful life certification be approved. I, the clerk of the Select Board of the Town of Great Barrington, Massachusetts, certify that a meeting of the board held on September 27th, 2021, of which meeting all members of the board were duly notified and at which a quorum was present, the following vote was unanimously passed, all of which appears upon the official record of the board in my custody. Voted that the maximum useful life of the departmental equipment listed below, being financed with the proceeds of the borrowing authorized by the vote of the town passed June 7th, 2021, Article 7, is hereby determined pursuant to GLC 44-1 to be as follows. Purpose: backhoe loader, borrowing amount $145,450. Maximum useful life 15 years. Purpose: sidewalk plow and sander, $124,300. Maximum useful life 10 years. Purpose: truck lift, $79,500. Maximal useful life 20 years. Purpose: transfer station ticket kiosk, borrowing amount $53,000. Maximum useful life 15 years. I further certify that the vote was taken at a meeting open to the public, that the vote was not taken by a secret ballot, that a notice stating the place, date, time, and agenda for the meeting, which agenda included the adoption of the above vote, was filed with the town clerk, and a copy thereof posted in a manner conspicuously visible to the public at all hours in or on the municipal building that the office of the town clerk is located, or applicable in accordance with an alternative method of notice prescribed or approved by the Attorney General as set forth in 940 CMR 2003 2B, at least 48 hours, not including Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays, prior to the time of the meeting, and remain so posted at the time of the meeting that no deliberations or decision in connection with the subject matter of this vote were taken in executive session, all in accordance with GLC 30A 18-25 as amended and pursuant to the town bylaws. Dated,
That's okay, go ahead.
Dated Monday, September 27th, 2021. Clerk of the Select Board.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any discussion? All votes are roll call in virtual meetings, so we'll start with Garfield.
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye, the vote is unanimous. Next, for informational purposes in our packet is the Select Board 2022 meeting schedule. Only one change that I would request, and I had requested it and it didn't get through, I think it's just a clerical error, is the March 14th meeting be on March 7th. I have something on the 14th, so if that's okay with everyone.
Yep,
Aye.
that's good.
Ed, you're good with that?
That's fine.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Figured it was enough in advance, but just want to make sure. Okay, next we have the EV charging stations, Taconic lot and Town Hall. Sean or Chris, which one?
Yeah, sure. I can give a quick summary. In your board packet tonight, there's a summary of the electric vehicle charging station we're proposing to install in the Taconic lot, and a very similar station would be installed behind Town Hall when we were able to do the Town Hall parking lot. There's a quick summary of what the station is. It's called a level 2 station, so it's not like your household electric. It's a little bit higher voltage than that. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong. But it is not so fast as a Tesla supercharging station. So level 2 is the common public access charging station, and it'll charge any electric vehicle on the market. So it's a good station. We're proposing one station in the Taconic lot. It can charge 2 cars at one time. In terms of trying to determine whether or not the town should charge users for these, it can go a few different ways, and we tried to lay that out in the summary for you. The cost for charging for an hour, the electric, is $1 or so for an hour of charge. It's not a significant amount of power that if the town decided to make it free that we are absorbing. It's anybody's guess how often it would be used. Obviously, we hope that it's convenient and people can use it as often as they want. But it's difficult to estimate just how much power would be drawn here. But it's about $1 per hour at current rates. And then there's the policy choice that you make of whether or not to charge. Some areas don't charge because they feel that it is something that brings people into the area. This is common at businesses and private stores, private places of business. It's an amenity to customers, and it's hoped that folks come in and plug in their car and walk around downtown and shop and use the services and support the stores. Other electric vehicle stations around the country, public stations, there is a charge, and it can be set up a few different ways. You can charge per minute, per 15 minutes, per hour, however we want. It's really scalable in terms of how this is set up. Some are set up on a subscription system so that folks can just use their credit card and the town's really not involved at all, particularly if there's like a good cellular signal to the charger, and it's all run over a larger network. There's a small annual subscription cost that we would cover maybe in that regard. But I guess in summary, it's not a massive cost to the town once these are installed. The maintenance costs are not anticipated to be great. Minor repairs, maybe. These are protected by steel bollards so people aren't driving into them. They're very weather resistant and durable. So, talking a couple $100 a year, $1,000 a year at the most. We're talking minor maintenance upkeep costs. So that's where we are. We wanted to provide you with that summary of information, and if you wanted to explore a specific policy route, let us know.
So the only thing that I would add to that, when I talked to Mark, and I don't think it was added in the executive summary, all of these 2 spots would be 2-hour limit. These are not overnight spots. They would have 2-hour limits. So do we want to have discussion or just a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we do not vote on it tonight until we find out all the information that we need to find out charging is viable.
It is viable. We do have all the information we think we need. Charging is viable. They come with it ready to go with charging if that's what we choose to do.
Okay, I would much more to say on it, but I can wait. But I certainly have my opinion on it.
Sure. Good. If you'd like to make a motion, Garfield, go ahead.
Well, again, I wanted to make a motion not to vote on it tonight until everything is clear of whether or not it can be done without paying the taxpayers taking on the burden.
Do I have a second to that motion?
I have a second just to keep the discussion going.
Well, we'll have the discussion anyways.
I'm not sure what information we don't have.
Yeah.
We know what it'll cost.
Well, I think we do have the information, but it sounds like we're flirting with not charging, and that I find to be a problem. There are solutions there.
Well, we're not flirting with anything. We're here to make the decision tonight whether we're going to charge or not. And that's the select board's decision. Mark and Chris have given us the information I think that we need, unless there's more information. And we just say we think we should charge or we should not charge.
Steve, can I?
Then I would like to speak my piece on it. It's something that actually kind of had written up that I wanted to say.
Go ahead.
I don't think
Then Eric. Yeah.
it should be free. All right.
Yeah.
I will cut it back. I just want to let you know that I think it's a bad business proposal. I think we can't gamble with other people's money if we're saying, oh, it's only so-and-so. It still affects the taxpayer. We are still paying for it. People have come to me and have asked me that we not do this. I told them I would look into it. I've spoken with a few people myself, and they also think it's a bad idea. However little money, it's still money, and it's a principle, and I think the people who live here shouldn't have to pay for it. Tesla, I spoke with the manager at the Big Y. Tesla does indeed have the people pay for this. They have a plan, sort of like a gas plan, where they indeed pay for it. So it's not free. And it wouldn't be free at all because we would be paying for it. So there's really nothing that is free. And I think it's a bad business proposal to use other people's money. An example I wrote up, if you walk into a business meeting and the board and the select board and you told people, the board, and you told people, look, I have a business proposal here that we can't make any money on. It's going to cost us to take care of it. We'll have to pay for the installation and maintaining of it, the servicing of it, and it's not even worth doing the bookkeeping on because it doesn't pay. That's not a good business proposal. I think your boss would say, well, excuse me, but I don't think we're going to do this. You're not going to have something that you can't make money on. And I think if Tesla can charge, so can Great Barrington. We're not so rich that we can afford to give away things that Tesla is even paying for. And they're a much bigger company. I'm sure we're not as rich as Tesla, but I am against it not being paid for because these are the citizens. These are the people we work for. This is a good time to show the people that we are listening. We know this is important. No matter what the so-called increments of money are, it's still money. It's still getting passed along. I don't think we can do this without that consideration. I just don't feel it's something I will certainly can't get behind, and I'd be pretty upset, saddened if we did do this because we're not listening to the people. People don't want to pay for other people's fuel. It's that simple. That's what we would be doing. You and I and everybody on this board pays for gas. Why do you want to make it so no one else who has an electric car? If we're so concerned about the people coming in here into town, I don't think it's going to increase people anymore because we've been doing pretty well without it. Without having charging stations, we've done pretty well. I don't think that's going to add to people coming to Great Barrington, and certainly not going to deter anyone who has an electric vehicle. And truthfully, I think anyone that can afford an electric vehicle will be happy to pay the charges because they'll be expected to pay the charges because they can afford to pay the charges. And I just think it's just not fair to put on the townspeople, no matter if you're saying it's only $1 an hour. We don't have any statistics on how long, how many cars will use it, what the maintenance is going to be, how much it will cost. We have none of that information. I don't think we can just go off and say, let's do it, when there's things that are unknown.
Thank you, Garfield. Eric.
So, yeah, I guess, I look at this more as helping advance new technologies, so I am good with having it be free of charge to the people that are passing through. I heard a lot of concerns about people worried about people just showing up to have the car and parking there and charging it for free. I don't see that happening. I get multiple calls a week for people who don't even have their electric car, whether it's a Tesla or Volvo or the hybrids, and they all, the people that live in the area, they all put one in at their house as soon as they know that they're going to get a car, electric car. So I see this as like an incentive to help advance new technologies, because sooner or later we're all going to be driving an electric car, and I see it as a greener option and promoting a healthier environment. So I have done some research. I did look into what other towns were charging if we did go that option. It is down and the biggest fee that they were adding on was to handle the charging aspect of it. As far as the card swipe and stuff like that. I believe it's Agawam charges $1 per kilowatt, and if I'm not, it was 60 cents they charge for what they call the maintenance fee as far as billing and stuff like that. And then they get their electric at a higher rate than we do, I guess, because they charge 40 cents per kilowatt on the electric side. So, if I don't mind it being there without charge to the passerbys. I don't see people coming in that live in town just to abuse it personally, especially if we have the 2-hour limit on it. So just my thoughts there.
Thank you, Eric. Lee?
Yeah, so I guess, I'm kind of in between the two. So I realize that this is a part of a bigger discussion about, the climate crisis and the fact that transportation-related carbon emissions are some of the top source of, the U.S. carbon emissions problem. And we're basically trying to bring in incentives such as electric vehicle charging stations to help this issue. But I will say that I have listened to a lot of citizens' concerns, and I do think that we owe it to our citizens in Great Barrington to listen to their concerns and to at least cover the costs. So I do have questions about the coverage of, I'd like to see us look into having a credit card reader, and there will be some charges accompanied with that credit card reader, such as the maintenance and the surcharge. But I would like to, I think that we should cover our costs. And I have done other research as well. And I was looking to see, what other, how many other EV charging stations there are within the 10-mile radius of Great Barrington. And there are a total of 18 charging stations. And then looking further, I've noticed that in Lee, around the center of Lee, 83% of the 24 public charging stations offer free charges, but there is a certain percentage that do charge. So I do think that listening to the citizens' concerns, that we owe it to them to do charge, to at least cover the cost. And one of the suggestions I would like to make is to look at the rate that the town is being charged in terms of the payment structure, and add to that, maybe charge 150% of the commercial rate that we charge, for instance. So that might look like, if before aggregation discount, it might look like $1.65 an hour, for example. And I'm glad to hear that there will be a limit. So that was another concern. I didn't feel that people should be able to camp out. So I would be siding with Garfield. I think that we should look into a credit card reader, and especially since this particular charging station was not covered by a grant, I think that we probably owe it to the citizens to make sure that we cover at least the charge and the maintenance of ensuring that we do cover these charges.
So I did talk to Sean. It does come with a credit card reader if we choose to use it. So Lee, do you want to put that in the form of a motion?
Yeah.
Can I weigh in, or should I wait?
Yeah, I didn't know. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I can.
I see. So anyone driving an electric car can afford the couple of bucks. For the 2 hours of charging, they're going to get themselves, 30 miles or so, if that. It's not, people aren't going to come to charge. They're going to, it'll be a place to stop while they shop and keep on going. It doesn't, if it's used, if it really costs us $1 an hour and it's used both of them are used 24 hours a day, that's $17,000, $17,500. We spend a lot more money on a lot of other things. It's probably not worth as much time as we spent on this already. So either way, I will support it. I don't think it hurts to charge. I think I would like to sort of stress what Eric said, which is it's a new technology. It's a green technology. We all have the benefit of not breathing the fumes from those cars that are using it. I think if we're being symbolic, I think symbolically to not charge would be the way to go. again, it's not a big impact either way.
So,
I can make a motion.
let me just have my little say. Ed and I probably are in agreement on this. I will support whatever the motion is. I somewhat disagree with Garfield. I don't think that the point of this, you're right that if you're running a business, you have to make money. I don't think the point of this is to make money. We do things downtown to attract people. We empty the garbage down there. We have police patrols. We don't charge for any of those. There's no bid. But, and from Eric's point of view, I think it will bring people down, and it's a new technology that we're trying to promote. But I'm not willing to live or die on this vote. I'm willing to support what the majority has. So Lee, go ahead.
I make a motion that the Great Barrington Select Board charge 150% of the commercial rate for the aggregation discount with a maximum of 2 hours at the EV charging stations. And I would ask for Sean Van Duzen to report back in a year's time with some data on the usage so that we could revisit this.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Any other discussion?
Do we know that 150% will cover the credit card fees?
We don't know the specifics. If the board would like to proceed just with the general direction that you do want to charge and that you want to cover the electricity and the associated charges, the networking fees, the credit card fees, etc., we can try to work that up and see what that is. I don't know if it's exactly 150%, Lee. So I'd hate to see you tied into something that might be not quite right. So if your general direction is to cover the costs, all of the costs, we can build that in.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you want to change your motion, Lee? What's wrong?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll withdraw my motion and change it to so that we charge so that we cover all the cost. Well, so my question, Chris, though, is when we talk about covering all the costs, are we just talking about the credit card reader? Are we talking about the maintenance? There's a lot of things going into this. So the reason why I picked 150% was, try to encompass everything, because really, when do you say enough is enough in terms of covering all the costs? So, there's things about, future proofing and, looking down the lines in terms of general maintenance. So is that going to be a lot of work for town staff to try to come up with a percentage number for me to?
I don't know.
Okay.
If you're okay with this, I mean, we know the general direction.
Yeah.
We know you want to charge if a vote like this passes.
Okay.
We'll have the technology installed with this. So
just to say cover a cost with that.
Yeah, let us work it up, and then
okay.
Maybe we could come back to you when we're ready and we have all of the dollars and cents, the specific dollars and cents, and then
okay,
we could say this is what it looks like, and if it's 180%,
sure,
sure. We'll let you know. I wouldn't want you to be caught.
Okay.
Low.
All right.
So our general goal is to cover everything.
Okay, so let me
except we're not covering debt service. We're covering the operations and maintenance, the electrical charge, the operations, the maintenance, the networking fees.
Okay.
That's clear to me anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's clear in a motion.
Okay, so I'll make a new motion then. I make a motion that the select board recommend that we move forward with the electric vehicle charging stations, ensuring that we cover all the associated costs, including operation, maintenance, and so forth, and that town staff take this in consideration and report back to us with the exact percentage over and above the cost to the town.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, despite what I said earlier, I'm going to vote no on this, and if it fails, we'll make a motion to do it without charge.
So it's a roll call vote. Garfield?
Aye.
And Eric?
No.
Ed?
No.
Lee?
Aye.
And I said I would vote for it, and I will. So it passes 3-2.
Thanks. We'll work on it as we go forward, and we'll let you know.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Citizen speak time. Gregory.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to say that, I served on the town's parking committee for 2 years. And, I'm also thinking about how many people talked about what a parking problem we have. And I find it kind of a bit ludicrous that we would take 2 more parking spots for this goody two-shoe idea when we have so many places, the co-op, the Big Y, and so forth, where people can stop and refuel. And in the center of town, I don't know if we've surveyed the people that own the businesses in town, but I'm sure they would rather have people flowing through and not be attracted by energy filling station. So if there's a way that the citizens can speak about their concerns with this, I know the intentions are good, but I vehemently disagree with our putting those stations in high traffic places. We just have too much of a bottleneck. And if I'll ask offline if there's a way that citizens can speak up and protest this. But it's not about charging or not charging. It's about putting things where there's already congestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Charlie Williamson.
Yes, Steve, I've got a couple of things, but I'll go back to the parking meters again. The government, it was set up for the greater good of the populace, of the people that are here. And I guarantee you the core people in Barrington that pay taxes don't have electric cars, and in the near future won't. And I won't go into the green cars because that's nothing but another story. But I just want to cover 2 other issues with you. And I know you people say you like listening to the citizens speak. I want to tell you, I come on and I speak. I'm trying to keep the cost down. That's all I'm trying to do, is keep the cost down on certain things. And what I want to talk about here is last week I covered 2 little items of many items. And one of them was the Cottage Street light. I don't know if anybody's gone down there to look at it, but it is a deterrent to traffic moving through the town of Barrington. And actually, it's up to the selectmen to take a look at what's happening in Barrington. Traffic does not flow in the town of Barrington. That light should be turned off. It's not. You guys had a week to look at it. I guarantee it won't be turned off a month from now. The other thing is, I mentioned the firehouse lights. I know it's no big deal to you guys, but it is a big deal to me. I'm paying for that electricity. When they have those doors open, whether the vehicles are in or out, every light in that place is on. Now, yeah, let's say it's $1,000. That isn't much money. Well, I got news for you. I can't remember when or if ever the town of Barrington has ever held its taxes level for 1 year. You always raise them, and you go up at a good rate. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Chair. Jim Bailey.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
You are.
I came into this conversation late. I was working a little bit. Just a couple of quick things. The electric vehicles aren't all we believe they are cracked up to be. Just an alarming statistics, for example. I mean, that old adage, out of sight, out of mind. Lithium ion isn't mined in the United States at all. but it does take 500,000 gallons of fresh water to reduce 1 metric ton of lithium ion to be used. That's kind of alarming. Coming from Taconic, I would love 500 million gallons or 500,000 gallons of fresh water. But besides that, the idea that it's only a little bit that the town's going to absorb if we just do it for free. Are any of you familiar with IFTA? That's a fuel tax charged to commercial carriers throughout the United States and Canada. What it does is ensures that motor carriers entering the state of Massachusetts pay appropriate road tax. So whether they buy fuel in the state or not, they're paying road tax for the mileage they traveled. Electric vehicles, as far as I know, are only required to pay that little bit extra registration fee. So what we lose towards our highway program is, the fuel tax. I understand that we're talking about Massachusetts, but there's a lot of other vehicles from other states that travel and come into Great Barrington. An electric vehicle, if they're paying tax in another state, there's no reciprocal agreement, as I know, that the state of Massachusetts will recoup any of the lost fuel tax on these electric vehicles. That fuel tax doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have roads in disrepair, bridges in disrepair, I think it's really important to us in the town of Great Barrington that we watch every nickel and dime. We have bridges that are closed and we can't pay for them, but we're willing to pay for electric vehicles to travel on our roads for free from other states. I just think it's kind of ironic. And I really appreciate that, you're willing to look at the idea of charging, because anybody coming to Great Barrington, let's be honest, if they can't afford to park their car and plug their vehicle in, they're not coming to Great Barrington. Thanks, guys, for your time.
Thanks, Jim. Seeing no one else, select board time. Garfield?
Nothing.
Eric? Ed?
Yeah, just a quick, just because of the discussions we've been having, climate change is real, and burning of fossil fuels exacerbates that. And like Eric said, we will all at some point be driving electric cars where the energy source can be produced more environmentally friendly. And the state will have to start dealing with the fact that gas taxes are going to start disappearing or certainly reducing over time. So Jim's absolutely right that the state needs to start looking at something to deal with that. Thanks.
Lee?
I meant to mention earlier that the housing subcommittee meeting on September 20th was shortened because we were Zoom bombed, and tentatively it's being rescheduled for Wednesday, October 6th at 5:30, although the agenda has not been posted. So I just want to say that for those that think it's okay to Zoom bomb and disrupt meetings, we're going to continue to do our work, and we're going to continue to do due diligence to this important work that we're elected to do. So this is not going to deter us, and we're going to continue with the discussion about a short-term rental bylaw draft. So just to let people know that tentatively the next housing subcommittee meeting with the planning board and select board is scheduled for Wednesday, October 6th at 5:30, but keep an eye on the website, and we will be posting the agenda shortly.
Need a motion now to go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A1, for the following purpose: to discuss complaints brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual, open meeting law complaint by Eileen Mooney, and not to return to open session.
So moved.
Second.
And it's a roll call vote. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
and I. It's unanimous, and we will not be returning to open session. Thank you, everyone.